Yes.
You speak French also?
Yeah, a little bit.
Not everyone is. I discovered only at the end that the Korean people who speak French, there are many in the And I'm very happy to be here. It's my first time in Korea in my life. I arrived on Monday from Burgundy, so I'm very happy to be here. We are going to taste some wines from the 2023 vintage. So a brief word about myself. I arrived in Burgundy in 2007 to work in Puligny-Montrachet with Madame Anne-Claude Leflèvre at Domaine Leflèvre in Puligny-Montrachet, which is really the famous estate producing wine in biodynamics in Puligny-Montrachet, practicing biodynamics since the 90s. And there I also started with Madame Leflèvre a school to teach about wine in Puligny-Montrachet. And I stayed in Puligny with Madame Leflèvre until 2015, the end of 2015, because Madame Leflèvre died in 2015. And at the end of the year, I decided to leave Domaine Leflèvre. Then my main occupation was to help other wine producers, to do some consulting for them in Burgundy and outside Burgundy, to improve the quality and be more ecological and practicing biodynamic farming if they wanted, so consulting for biodynamic farming. And in 21, I decided to start my own wines. So vintage 2021 is my first vintage, 23 is the number 3 vintage.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite recent. My winery is in Beaune, in the center of Côte de Beaune, and I started by focusing mostly on the white wine of Côte de Beaune and progressively developing a little bit more red, specifically in 2023. And from the beginning, I purchased the grapes. So it's in French we call it a négoce vinificateur. So it means that I don't own the land for the moment.
Ah, okay.
It's easier to start. I have the winery, but I purchase grapes from different growers, different vineyards, and do each time one cuvée. This will evolve because in 2025, this winter, I was able to purchase my first land. Yes, in Puligny-Montrachet, so now I have also the farming part which is starting. So it's developing. And it's a small production to stay focused on high quality. I produce between 20,000 bottles to 30,000 bottles, which is like 4 hectares to 6 hectares. So human size, so I can do. I do most of the things myself. I'm the business owner. I'm the worker, the winemaker, the banker, the salesman. And now we are 3 people. 2 people are helping me. Young wines. They have been bottled last December.
Wow.
And they arrived in Seoul, in Korea, a couple of weeks ago. So they are completely arriving.
Oh.
And we are this week presenting the new vintage. The first wine is a different grape variety, which is Alligo떼의. Everybody knows Alligo떼의?
Yes.
Grape variety? Yeah. Alors, Alligo떼의 grape variety had the reputation of not being the highest quality. 30 years ago, people had the image of more average and everyday wine with high acidity and less concentration. It produces generally a higher yield because it has a powerful flowering, so it produces more grapes if you don't master it properly, specifically on young vineyard. And second, it produces higher acidity. It is right, but nowadays things have changed a lot, specifically with the global warming. We face as winemaker challenges for white wines in Burgundy with higher temperature earlier ripening, we have grapes that have a different balance, that are richer, higher sugar content, so higher alcohol, but less acidity in wine vintages. And it's a challenge because we need good acidity for the balance of white wines. And Alligotte grape variety now is gaining a lot of popularity amongst winemakers because it's really kind of solution to the global warming. It's very well adapted to global warming because even in a warm vintage it keeps enough acidity, and when it's very dry summer it still produces enough quantity of grapes. So it's very well adapted.
그래서 행주도 중간 카운걸
감사합니다.
In also big wooden cask to preserve the freshness, and also barrels, but used barrels. It stays 1 year on the full lees, and then it is racked and blended together and stays a few months in stainless steel before the bottling. So in total it has 15 months of aging, so this is quite long. This cuvée, I really love this cuvée because it shows that Alligotte, if it is from old vineyard, can be a real gastronomy wine with concentration, density, very good balance, and
That's why I already heard about your wine, and they told me like it's either you like it or you might not like it because it's Alligotte, and you have that stereotype perception of Alligotte that it should be like a high acidity and like thin layer, like not heavy body, something like that.
Yes, yes, yes.
But then your style is different from other Alligotte style. That's what they
You like
told
it?
me. Yeah, I mean like I like it.
With the global warming, sometimes if you wait too much, you lack freshness. It's a balance, and so it's one of the reasons why I'm experimenting with different type of continents for aging, or different rates of oxygen transfer to the wine. So, for example, in big wooden cask that are like 5-6 barrels, the wood is more thick, and also the volume is bigger, so the little of oxygen that enters is less in terms of per liter, and so it slows down the aging during the vinification. So the wine stays not as good at the first months of aging in the cask, but after 12 months they preserve more freshness than in a small barrel.
Oh, okay.
Here, it's a zoom, but big cask behind, like the size is
Foudre.
foudre, exactly, foudre.
Yeah.
And I have also clé en froid that are quite
Froid.
big. There is no absolute rule. I try to feel each year the need of each cuvée, and not to be systematic, to give high doses systematic based on what the theory says. White wine generally receives too high SO2 at the bottling, and it's responsible for decreasing the quality of the wine during the first years. It preserves from oxidation, it's a preservative from oxidation, but the difficulty with SO2, if you put huge quantity, you can even feel it, the taste, for the people who are sensitive, or it can be bad for the body also, headache. To have a more physical protection to the entry of oxygen in the bottle, to slow down the aging. So I use quite high, very high density tradition. So tradition is very important. But it's good to open some new doors sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's where you can get great as well.
Is there a name for the wine? I really love minerality. It's so
이거 딱 마셨을 때
minerality
진짜
here, and I just
일하기 싫다.
wanna
또 이렇게 되는데 일하기 싫네.
So it's not the Turkish rose, not the aromatic one. It's the wild one that you find in Europe, in the forest, with only 5 petals, and it's a reference to my family, the family of my mother, de la Vigne, the last part of my name, de la Vigne. It's a real family from France, from Normandy,
Normandy.
It's a round stone. Round stone. But well, it can have several meanings. I love this side of round stone. But the real story behind, it's the name of my company since long time ago. Before I started the wine under my own label. It's the name of my first house in Burgundy. The first house that I purchased.
So now you're trying to expand more, produce more.
Yes, but I want to stay rather small for the quality. Volnay, in the lowest part of Volnay. Just on, it's a vinification with 2 weeks of maceration. The proportion of old cluster is 25%. 10 to 50% of whole cluster, depending on the cuvée, but not zero. The whole cluster brings another dimension to the wine, not only the fruit dimension, because when you have the whole cluster, the berries come with the stem. You understand the word?
Yeah,
the stem, which is not clearly woody. It's more between vegetal and woody.
씁쓸한 맛, bitter taste.
Alors, it can give, but it gives also extra dimension to the aromatics. It gives the floral part, the vegetal part. Generally, the signature of whole cluster is to have more floral wines, and but also vegetal. Hopefully, the noble vegetal, which is more like tea. Or like when it's older, tobacco leaf, or also the rose. It gives a little bit more rose smell sometimes, or rosewood.
이제 전송이 발효라고 해서 포도를 보통은 이제 줄기에서 포도 알맹이만 떼가지고 양조를 하잖아요. 근데 그걸 송이째 아예 다 양조를 할 때 하는 방식이 있어요. 홀 클러스터라고 하는데 그거를 어떤 생산자는 100% 다 그냥 송이째로 다 담궈버리는 생산자가 있고 어떤 생산자는 나는 스템에 있는 건 진짜 싫어. 그냥 다 알갱이만 할 거야. 이런 생산자도 있고 이거는 이제 생산자의 철학에 따라 다르긴 한데 지금 앙투안 씨는 한 보통 10에서 50% 정도 와인에 따라 빈티지에 따라 때로에 따라 조금씩 다르긴 하지만 그렇게 한다고 해요. 그 이유는 그 줄기, 포도 줄기가 잘 익은 포도 줄기를 잘 사용을 하면 거기에서 굉장히 좋은 탄닌을 얻을 수도 있고 아로마도 얻을 수 있고 특히 이제 꽃향기 같은 그리고 좀 좋은 약간 야채향 예를 들면 뭐 우리가 차, 티향 이런 거 있잖아요. 이런 거나 아니면 조금 수성이 됐을 때는 그런 호박향, 장미향, 그다음에 로즈우드 이런 좋은 향들을 추가적으로 얻을 수 있기 때문에 전송이 발효를 하기는 하는데 이제 10에서 50%까지 그것은 와인에 따라, 빈티지에 따라, 빌라드에 따라 조금씩 달라집니다. 그래서 내가 추구하는 건 탄닌이 앞으로 나와 있는 와인이 아니라 탄닌은 약간 뒤에서 부족감만 좀 잡아주고 내가 추구하는 건 엘레강스하고 하모니를 잘 이루는 아주 영한 와인에서도 그런 엘레강스함을 느낄 수 있는 와인을 만드는 게 이제 지향점이라고.
밸런스.
네, 밸런스.
And second wine that we taste, the Chambol Musigny, it comes also from the clayish part of Chambol, the bottom of slope, clayish part of Chambol, and in this Chambol, the deep soil with a lot of clay is responsible for having a lot of water supply from the underground. The consequence is a cold underground because of high water content. It takes more time to warm up than the pebbles or limestone soils, and so it's a late place for ripening. The cold soil are later for ripening. You can feel in the aromatics, and also they may have more acidity. So the style of this Chambol is a good acidity for the people who love good dynamic tension, and at the same time the fruit is a red fruit, but crispy red fruit with good acidity, like raspberries.
엄청 신선한 시원하네요.
So santé, allez.
산테.
And the consequence of not being too extracted in some of tannins means there are red wines that are not necessarily for meat or.
피넛도 잘하는데.
멋있어. 아니에요. 모르냐 말이야. 몰라요.
Voilà, for
와인 블링.
Ah oui, on arrive tout fin. You have to wait for it to dry.
Yes.
You speak French also?
Yeah, a little bit.
Not everyone is. I discover only at the end that the Korean people who speak French. There are many in the